Wuthering Waves' 2.6 banners are looking stacked, so today I aim to help you decide who to spend your precious Astrites on. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. We'll kick things right off with Augusta. She is looking to be a very promising electric DPS, and this makes her quite special, because she's the first electric DPS that we've gotten in a very long time. The last time we got a limited 5-star electric DPS was Shangli Yao, and that was all the way back in 1.2, and you can't really justify going for him anymore when we have plenty of other good DPSs now. So at long last, we finally have a brand new option to add to the electric DPS roster. I would say that this makes her a pretty noteworthy pull in general. If you're somebody that's already invested quite a lot into their Shangli, I wouldn't worry too much. They don't eat each other's teammates, and that's something that's really nice about Augusta. Her teammate options are very flexible. You're able to use more Teffy with her, a 4-star that most people should have by this point. He's going to end up being her absolute best 4-star teammate, and this is really nice, because not every 2.x DPS has been equally as accessible as one another. Obviously, everybody's been able to clear the free-to-play friendly level, but some characters really do want their premium options more than others, with Zani actually being a prime example. She really wants her Confession Phoebe. Augusta isn't really a character that needs a second slot 5-star teammate in order to feel good to use. Because of this, she actually ends up being quite a safe pull for many different types of accounts. If you're a beginner and you manage to stumble upon more Teffy on banners, well then there you go, you can easily justify going for Augusta, and if you're a long-term player, then she's a worthwhile pickup, being one of the rare cases of an electric DPS. Based on the footage that Kuro Games has officially revealed to us, her gameplay also looks very fast-paced, which means she's gonna feel like an absolute dream to use against most boss scenarios. She's easily going to be able to chase after enemies. Also, if you're somebody that happened to pull for Lova recently, you're even able to use her as a second slot Augusta teammate, because she's able to buff heavy attacks. It's a strange use case, but it's one that's indeed likely going to work, especially considering that more Teffy's going to work. She's also able to shield herself, meaning that she's going to be quite comfortable to play in general, and she honestly doesn't come with many outstanding flaws. I would say that if you've already got a very built-up DPS roster, you don't necessarily need Augusta. However, considering how rare it is for us to get a new electric DPS, you can honestly still justify going for her. In my personal opinion, this is definitely one of Kuro Games' more well-designed main DPSs in recent times. I think her kit was handled very well. She's going into S tier for the value rankings of this patch. A very strong main DPS character. You genuinely can't really go wrong with getting her. Fantastic unit for sure. Then we move on to another very strong main DPS that has stood the test of time. None other than the esteemed Montelli lady Carlotta. Ever since she came out in 2.0, she has been making wuthering waves in the meta, and to this day, she is still very strong. I would say that she's continued to be very dependable, and this means that she's super reliable. If you pull for her now, it's very likely that she's only going to continue to be good. Her damage numbers are really high, and they still hold up even now. Her single target performance is absolutely excellent, and she's not terrible in AoE either. You just have to have good positioning. The more well invested that your Carlotta is, the better she's able to do in Whimpering Waste as well. Yes, the single target character is actually able to do alright in WuWa, because all you really need there is good positioning and high enough damage, because if your damage is high enough, then you're going to be able to one-shot enemy waves. She's extremely easy to play once you get the hang of her rotation, and in my personal opinion, also very satisfying to play. Her skill is able to temporarily freeze enemies in place, which can honestly be really helpful, because not only does it give you a moment to breathe, but it's a splendid quality to have up against bosses that move around a lot. Her high Astrites-based investment is also really impressive. She has really good sequence nodes, and her signature weapon is excellent. However, that's another thing that I really like about this character. If you're not able to get Last Dance, she honestly performs very well in Static Mist. This is because her baseline damage is so high, she's still going to feel really impressive on this standard weapon. I myself typically play her on Static Mist, and she still feels like one of the strongest characters on my account. She genuinely is just that impressive. Her teammates are also relatively flexible. You're able to use Vasily Painter Jojo if you want to play her best hypercarry team, but if you're willing to learn Quick Swap, then Changli works as well. Other providers of skill percent on outro such as Cantarella and Brant Wuthering Waves are able to provide her with ample value. You can even opt to use Yang Yang as a 4-star teammate because her outro skill is able to provide her with some extra energy. This character is genuinely impressive in my opinion, and she has only proven over time how good she is. She is only going to continue to be this strong. She has so many team options, she's very free to play friendly. Investing in her is very safe because her high investment yields you so much results. And while this next point is subjective, I just personally think she's very pretty. Absolutely fantastic DPS that is very easy to recommend. She's going into S tier for the value rankings of this patch. She's super strong and you're not going to regret investing in her, no matter where your account is currently at. Amazing unit. If you thought that we were discussing some strong characters up until this point, well oh boy, we have hardly scratched the surface because now we have to talk about Shorekeeper. If you've been playing Wuthering Waves for longer than a couple of weeks, then you're probably aware of this woman's reputation by this point. She is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most valuable limited 5-star in all of Wuthering Waves. She is able to work in basically every team in the game. There is not a single team where she does not work yet, and since every team is crit-based, her crit buffs are always useful. Even in some Carlotta teams where she's HP skilling and attack buffs aren't really going to do anything for her, she can still benefit from Shorekeeper's crit percent buffs. There is no other 3rd slot teammate that provides buffs on this level, which makes her an excellent generalist and a very powerful buffer for basically any main carry. And while she is becoming more replaceable nowadays, as Wuthering Waves is starting to introduce more and more triple teams, she still ends up being an excellent option in these comps. Her versatility and effectiveness paired with that versatility is seriously something to be reckoned with, and whenever you get Shorekeeper, you're never going to be able to go back to not using her, because she really is just that useful. And her S2 is utterly amazing for any main DPS that scales off of attack, which is the main majority of DPSs in this game. 40% attack is absolutely insane, but even down at S0, she is without a shadow of a doubt the most valuable character that you can pull for in Wuthering Waves. I think everybody could have predicted this, but she's going into SS plus tier for the value rankings of this patch. There is no single Wuthering Waves character that comes even remotely close to scratching her level of value. The only other character that I can think of that is this bang for your Astrite would be Phoebe, but even then, Shorekeeper absolutely annihilates her in terms of pull value. She is really just that woman. Then we move on to Iuno. So she's an interesting case. She's not bad by any means, but she's not really a must-pull. I would say that it's a less extreme case of what happened with Roshia and Sanhua. I say less extreme because I do still think that Iuno's a worthwhile pull if you really care about heavy attackers, but you don't need her. You can get by just fine by using Mortefi. She's going to be good for basically any main DPS that uses heavy attacks. Phoebe, yes, another Phoebe teammate, Gian, Zani, and of course, Augusta. That's the main one that you want to be pulling Iuno for. However, you don't really need her for Augusta. You're still going to be able to get by just fine without her. She's definitely going to be good for these characters, and I would say that she is worth a limited 5-star pull, but she's not something that you need immediately, and these characters are still going to feel perfectly fine to play without her. I would say her pull value as it currently stands would be a luxury pickup. If you want Augusta's absolute best in slot team, then you can go and pick up Iuno, but you don't really need her otherwise. And she's good for these other heavy attackers, but once again, she's not really a necessity. I think the difficulty with her is that it's quite difficult to justify pulling for her when she is in such a stacked patch. Every character that's being featured in 2.6 is very, very high value. Iuno's definitely more on the niche side, but what I will add is that if you really want to invest into heavy attackers specifically, then yes. She's an excellent pickup to make, because she's going to be the premium 5-star unit for heavy attackers. And while an S6 Mortefi can certainly get the job done just fine, you're also able to invest more sequences into Iuno, so if you're really, really wanting to hyper-invest in that regard, then you're able to do so, and she provides an avenue for you to do that. This does unfortunately run into the same wall as Roshia, so to speak, where yes, you can do that, or you can just get sequences for your main DPSs instead. However, I will say that I believe Iuno is more generalist than Roshia was, so she's definitely not bad. I would say Iuno is the case of a niche unit, nothing crazy, but she is good at what she does. Skippable. You can say that every unit is skippable, sure, but she is more so than others. She's going into A tier for the value rankings of this patch. She is a good character, but definitely not one that you absolutely require. This is partly due to the fact that Mortefi's existence does negate her value by quite a bit, but even so, you can still definitely justify getting her. Then we move on to Ciaccona. This lovely bard is very, very nice for Absolution Phoebe mains, because she's able to help you out in Whimpering Wastes, applying Spectral Frazzle and Multi-Wave. Otherwise, her main use case is being used of Carlotta. She absolutely bolsters Carda's damage output, and is 100% her best in slot second slot teammate. If you main her, then she is 100% worth your time. Now if you don't have the Renacetan Bard, then you can definitely get by just fine by using Changli and Carlotta, though that team is very hard to use just like any other quickswap team. You'd have to learn how to play it effectively. If you're big on an Absolution Phoebe, then I do think that S0 Ciaccona is a good pickup. I say S0 in particular, because their sequences are more tailored towards Carlotta, and that's another thing. If you're a high investment Carlotta player, then Ciaccona is worth investing more into. Her signature weapon, for instance, is really good for her. She's also able to play in some funky Gion teams, namely Ciaccona Arrow Rover comps. And this honestly ends up being very powerful for him. So with that being said, I would say that Ciaccona is definitely a powerful unit. She is once again more on the niche side, but I would say that what she does for her individual units is more effective than what Iuno does. I'm actually going to be putting her in A+ tier for the value rankings of this patch. I don't really want to say that she's going to be on the value level of Augusta and Carlotta, but if you have the individual units that she's really good with, then she does a lot of work on your account. All around, 2.6 is absolutely crazy. Kuro is throwing a ton of good units our way. You can't really go wrong with any character this patch, they're all very good, though Wuthering Waves just doesn't really release bad characters, but with that being said, there is definitely something for everyone here. If you need a main DPS, there's 2 amazing ones coming up. If you need a support, Shorekeeper's right there, and then we have some niche characters in Iuno and Ciaccona, definitely looking great. Who are you going to be pulling for? Let me know down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hopefully this video was able to tell you who'd get you the best bang for your Astrites in version 2.6. This has been Juice, signing out, and good luck on your pulls.